Well, hey, I am in Paris and I'm going to take you guys with me a little bit different format today. I'm going to take the camera and we're going to go walk around the History Geeks version of the Latin Quarter in Paris. We're going to walk around some of the oldest streets in Paris. We're going to see the oldest tree in Paris. We're going to see the oldest sign in Paris. We're going to talk about some of the things on these old streets. We are going to wrap the day up by coming back to the Ile de la Cité, and we're going to go and see a really cool archaeological site that I did not know existed. This first walk we're going to do, we're just going to go and hit some of the oldest streets in this beautiful city, because if you love history, that's what we're here for, right? So let's go. It is windy and chilly out, so I'm going to take a scarf and a coat and all my stuff, and we're going to go, and I have notes, and we're going to go check it all out. Let's go see Paris. Today's walk starts on the Ile Saint-Louis, and we are going to cross over the bridge at the Pont de l'Archevêché, right by Notre Dame. And we're going to go into the Latin Quarter. And we are going to be finding the oldest streets in Paris and one of the narrowest streets in Paris. And it has a cool legend about it that we're going to talk about when we get there. Let's cross over right here. And if you are familiar with the Latin Quarter in Paris, you may find some of these stops to be sort of out of order in this video, but I actually went back and filmed this twice because it was raining so hard that I actually missed some things, so I will label the streets that I'm on as I'm walking and talking here. Meanwhile, let's jump back into my live walk and talk in the beautiful Latin Quarter. And we're just kind of winding our way up to the street called Rue Galande. And we're gonna go right up here. Everybody's just setting up for the morning, kind of early today. And Rue de Grand Degré, we're gonna walk up this. Don't forget to look up at all the beautiful Latin Quarter and Parisian architecture. I love these black iron railings. And we're gonna go straight across to that little old street across the way. And this is the entrance to Rue Galande. And this is just coming into the old part of Rue Galande. It's in two pieces, so we're going to cross over at the intersection right ahead and talk about the oldest sign in Paris, which is right ahead on the corner right here that you'll see across from this little cafe. And we'll talk about the legend that has to do with that sign right there. So what I'm going to do is cross this little intersection and go down to the end of Rue Galande, and the next clip will be us walking back up Rue Galande while I tell you the cool story that tells the legend of the carving that we're going to see on the wall right here. And if you're staying in the Latin Quarter, this is a nice little family-run restaurant cafe to grab a quick dinner if you're right here. And this is the picturesque Rue Galande, which is also part of the Roman route into Paris. This was one of the main roads coming in when it was still called Huchette. And at the end of this street, you will see the oldest sign in Paris. It's first mentioned in 1380, and it actually represents a part of the story of Saint Julian. And I believe, I'll try and tell you the story while I walk. It's a super interesting legend. He had a dream where he met a deer, and the deer told him he would kill his parents. And so he freaked out and left town and went into exile so that he wouldn't kill his parents. And his parents went looking for him. And when they arrived to find him gone, they decided to stay in his house. And he came back to his house, I'm loosely paraphrasing. He came back to his house and found them in his bed, and he thought it was his wife and a lover, and he killed them. And so it came true, and he killed his parents. And then the further bit of the story that you'll see in this sign is a scene where he was granted absolution by, I believe, Saint-Michel. Michael the Archangel came to him in a boat with a halo around him and saved him and gave him absolution for the crime of murdering his parents. And you can see that sign is right there. That. It's been there since the mid-1300s. And there's actually a really cool apartment right there that we stayed in, right above that in those windows. And this is a very famous Studio Galande, is a kind of a nightclub. This is a very busy street to sleep. If you spend the night here, very noisy at night. Lots of pub singers walking the streets, but there is a cool apartment up there. Super cute little street. And then this comes out, and we are going to be coming up on Rue Jacques, which is the oldest, kind of the oldest road in Paris. This street that we're on, Rue Galande and Rue Mouffetard, were part of the original route out of Paris through Lyon and back to Rome. And there's Notre Dame right there. And Rue Jacques was part of the original Roman plan that was laid out on a north-south axis. It was the main street. It's called a Corridor Maximus, which is a plan that's laid out north to south and then bisected by a secondary road that would be east to west. And this Rue Saint-Jacques would have been the route that pilgrims took on their way out of Paris through Orléans and on to Spain on the Santiago de Compostela pilgrim route. So this is Rue Saint-Jacques. So this is one of the oldest routes through Paris. And if you go back that way, it bisects across the island and goes on into the Marais. Rue de Saint-Séverin, we're walking down. We're going to turn right here onto Rue de la Harpe. And this connects into Rue de la Huchette, which is one of the oldest routes in Paris. This one is well known for being full of restaurants and bars. It always has been. It was known for that as early as the 1600s. It's been named since the 1300s, and it made up part of the route out of Paris for the pilgrims on their way through Orléans to Spain. But there are a lot of famous places along this little tiny street that we will point out. And I especially like that the narrowest street in Paris runs right off of this street. And as you come right here, tiny little thing, you'll miss it if you don't catch it. It is called Rue de Chat qui Pêche. And there's a little legend about it right here. It's one of the narrowest streets in Paris. It's about 6 feet wide. And I will tell you the story as we walk along. So we're going to walk back down, and I'll tell you the story. The legend is that there was once either a monk or a shopkeeper who lived there and had a black cat who was famous for fishing and being able to grab fish out of the river, which is just one block to my right. And the legend has it that 3 students thought that this was witchcraft, and they threw the cat in the river, and the old guy disappeared. So they thought that he had disappeared with his cat, as if they were both the devil, and the students thought they got rid of them. But a few months later, the man reappeared, and the cat also reappeared. So that is the legend of Le Chat qui Pêche. And I'll try and read you the bits of interest as we walk along here. Numbers of these places have different history associated with them. It's one of the oldest jazz clubs in Paris is right here. Number 4 dates back to 1729, and there should still be a sign on it somewhere. Number 8 dates from 1495, and number 10, which should be right here, is supposed to be the apartment where Napoleon stayed in 1794-95, right there. Number 13 right here, the dark green door, is a place where in 1684 apothecaries could go and enlist the services of nurses and doctors to come help with medical problems. And number 14 was a needle maker's shop. And there should still be a sign on a plaque somewhere that has a Y. There it is right there. You can just see it barely marked out in that circle up there. It's the shape of a Y, which was the symbol for needle makers. And we're coming up on the square Saint-Michel. If you are a World War II history buff, this is the site of several battles. In August of 1944, they had turned the square, right here, there's a fountain that's under construction. The resistance had turned the square into a fort to protect the police who were stationed right over there from the Nazis. This route was considered a major crossing point for the Germans to get through Paris. So they held it. And there were many battles right here during that August. So much so that the crossroads here was known as the Crossroads of Death, because so much fighting happened here at the intersection of Saint-Michel and the Boulevard Saint-Germain. And it is a very rainy and stormy day. I keep catching giant squalls of rain and wind. It already turned my umbrella inside out, but I'm only here for a short time, so we're doing this no matter what the weather's doing. And there's all kinds of streets back in here that are really pretty. And we're just going to walk back up Rue Saint-Severin. This is on the day that I was here. This was my first day here when it was really, really rainy. So if you see parts of this where it's rainy or it's not, it's because I was here on 2 different days to re-record some of this. And if you come and walk these streets on an early morning in the rain, you will have these normally touristy streets all to yourself. And there's Notre Dame right there. And now we're going to go see the oldest tree in Paris, in this beautiful little park right here, which is all in bloom right now too. It's really pretty. And here's this beautiful little garden. You can see what's blooming right now. You got primroses. This is the end of March. Primroses, daffodils, and tulips are just finishing. You're about 2 months ahead of the U.S. Where we live here, everything's blooming a lot sooner. And at Christmas time, there's a really cool Christmas market that I've heard takes place in this little park that's right under the shadow of Notre Dame. And this is the oldest tree in Paris. It is a variety of black locust that was brought from North America by the king's head gardener. I believe his name was Jean Robin. He planted it here in 1601, and he also designed the Jardin des Plantes. And the variety is named after him. I can't remember if it's called Robinia or Robinensis, or anyway, it's named after him. And they put seats around it, and they had to put a barrier around it to keep people from rubbing it with their hands, because it was said to bring good luck, because it's 400 years old. So they had to keep people from rubbing their hands on the bark for good luck. So there it is, and then it's propped up. This piece right here is a prop that's holding it up. And it's really quiet because it's rainy and yucky today. But for our next stop, I think it's about time to get something warm to drink. And right over here, Notre Dame is right through these trees. Let's see if we can get a good peek at Notre Dame. Right there is Notre Dame. And then right here on the corner is the famous Shakespeare and Company bookstore, which there's actually a line to get into it most of the time, so it's almost too touristy to bother with. And you can look it up. It was famous for a lot of writers in the early 1900s used to stay there, work there, write there. Very famous, but also very, very touristy, so it's lost a lot of its old-timey charm. But we're going to go check it out and maybe get a chai and warm up my fingers, because it's about 47 degrees right now. I hope you're enjoying this walk through the rainy Latin Quarter with me in the end of March. Perfect day for it, though. There's nobody out. See, and there's the park right there. And we'll be going into Notre Dame later today. This is a really nice place to get a little coffee and a chai, and I got some souvenirs. And there's the park right there with the old tree, so it's just right here. And then there is Notre Dame right there. So we're really close. If you stay on Saint-Louis, you can walk here within, it's about a 15-minute walk. And we just came in from the coffee shop right there. I was just sitting right there. And came back in. Look at these gorgeous apartments that overlook Notre Dame and the park. Can you even imagine? Oh my goodness. I can't imagine the cost, but I want that one right up on top. Oh, look at the little pink one. How sweet is that? And now I'm going just off of my beaten path map that I made for myself, and we're just going to wander some streets because I was going to go into Notre Dame, but I don't feel like standing in line in the rain, so I may do that a different day. So I think we'll just walk around the Latin Quarter, and then we need to stop and get some groceries for dinner. And then I'm going back out to the archaeological crypt later today for 4 o'clock. And we're just coming up on a place where there are a whole bunch of little market things right in a row, so you can do all your shopping. We just stopped here last night and got a bunch of groceries all in one spot, and one of the best places for croissants is right up here. And here is a little strip of all these great little places to shop right here. So you've got fish, butcher, meat, charcuterie, cheese, wine, bread, and a brasserie, and a metro. And of course I stopped in for a pain au chocolat at Maison d'Isabelle because they are known for some of the best croissants in Paris, and they're also very close to where I'm staying, so check them out if you're in the Latin Quarter. So there's where we just were. We're going to cross Boulevard Saint-Germain here and cut down this little street right here called Rue de Bièvre, which will take us right back out to the river. And right there you can write yourself a letter and mail it to yourself for a year from now. And this takes you right back out, directly across from Notre Dame. There is the island right there, and if you come in here and look back that way, there is the memorial to the deportation memorial. So you can come in here and there's a nice quiet little park. You could sit here and have a sandwich if it wasn't raining. And there's the statue of Saint Geneviève on the bridge right down there. And we're gonna head right across over there and get back to the apartment and have some lunch because it's yucky out. And then I have tickets for 4 p.m. to go into the archaeological crypt that is under Notre Dame, so I'll have to go back out then. Notre Dame is right there, still under construction in 2026. I hope you enjoyed this walk through the rainy Latin Quarter with me. If you know where to look, even on some of these very well-known touristy streets, there are some amazingly old and cool things that still exist in this most beautiful of cities on some of the oldest streets in Paris. This was such a fun walk. Thanks for coming along with me. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.